And today I'm going through my presentation, which is on murder-suicide. So what I first want to do is kind of point us in the right direction and create an outline of what I'm going to talk about and how it applies to murder-suicide. So first we're going to dive deep and we're going to explain just what is a murder-suicide. Then we're going to look at some of the psychology that is available behind murder-suicides. Then we're going to just look at some simple facts and numbers that prove how much of a factor and how important it is to address the situation of murder-suicides. Then we're going to look at some famous cases, some cases that I found on the internet and some cases that are very close to home, and just kind of talk about those in another light. And then I'm going to end with a concluding message. So first, obviously, we have to address the basis of what is a murder-suicide. A murder-suicide refers to an act, event, and/or crime scene where a perpetrator commits one or more murders and kills themselves, as provided by AlleyDog. Murder-suicides can be carefully planned, or they can be an instant act of rage, can set a perp off. So there's a big range of what sets a murder-suicide causes to happen. We've seen some cases where they are carefully planned, like I said, or are some where it's an instant act of rage that just sets the perpetrator off. So, furthermore, some motivations behind a murder-suicide can range from religious beliefs, such as suicide bombings, some self-punishment and guilt, joint suicide, where a person and another person commits suicide, and the intention to prevent future pain, a father killing his family and then himself to prevent torture that is oncoming. That last one is obviously not as crude as some of the other choices, but then again, it is still a murder-suicide, as provided by Psychology Today. So, as we dig deeper and we look at some of the psychology behind murder-suicide, Carl A. Menninger is a psychiatrist, or was a psychiatrist, and one of his quotes was very interesting to me. He said, "Murder and suicide are interchangeable acts. Suicide sometimes forestalling murder and vice versa." So, just looking at this, you can already tell that it's a very important quote as his life's work, and also going through and just looking at murder-suicide as a whole. He argues that murder and suicide are acts that can be interchanged together. Suicide sometimes forestalling murder. So what he's describing is that murder and suicide are closely related when they involve the life of one person. There's also been some study with Freudian logic, explaining how murder-suicide connects to this logic. Severe repression of a natural instincts due to early childhood abuse may lead to the death instinct to emerge in its twisted form. This again goes through the Freudian logic, Freud logic. So, furthermore, a common personality trait shared with murder-suicide perpetrators is there's poor self-control within the individual. They're very quick to violence. We've seen a lot of depression and also loneliness, which goes hand in hand. Poor self-control, being quick to violence, depression, and loneliness are all signs we see with perpetrators that lead to murder-suicides. Furthermore, if we just look at some simple facts and numbers, this information was absolutely mind-boggling to me when I heard this. 11 murder-suicides occur each week, resulting in between 1,000 and 1,500 deaths and accounting for 5% of all U.S. homicides in the United States. This stat is insane. If you told me that 11 murder-suicides occur each week, according to Psychology Today, I simply wouldn't believe you, but it is true. And it's alarming to see how big of an issue this is and how little it is talked about. Another interesting stat is that 89% of perpetrators are male. So we're seeing 90% of murder-suicide perpetrators are in fact male, which leads once again to the poor self-control, quick to violence, depression, and loneliness shared in these men. So this topic is very, very dear to me. A famous case that I want to address is actually a case that happened not too long ago in French Island, Wisconsin, the city where I live, the town where I live. 50-year-old Kevin Mannix unfortunately killed his 46-year-old wife, Patricia Mannix, one night, and shortly after he shot himself. As police and investigation looked more into this, court records revealed Patricia filed for a divorce the month prior to the shooting. NBC 15 reported the information. Now, there's something I want to address. Patricia was my dad's old boss, and I will never forget the day when my dad walked up the stairs of my house and he cried and he went in my arms and I gave him a huge hug and he told me that this event happened. It's traumatizing for everyone included. It really is, to see this woman that I've known, to see this woman that I've interacted with. Led me, honestly, it was one of the reasons why I wanted to pursue this presentation and this topic, was because I think a lot of crime gets punished or gets talked about with murder and with suicide, but we don't hear a lot about murder-suicides. So I want to just say rest in peace to Patty Mannix, and I hope someone, if watching this, just feels I'm getting emotional while even talking about it, just because it's such a huge deal. And in 2017, we lost a very important lives in our life, and once again, I will never forget the day my dad came up those stairs and just told me what had happened. So rest in peace to Patty Mannix. Another famous case happened in Chatham, North Carolina in 2020. 66-year-old Larry Don Ray killed himself and 6 of his relatives in their house. A surviving sister cites mental and behavior concerns as motive. Once again, according to the previous slide, depression, self-control. But also Don Ray had fantasy thoughts of his brother brother-in-law having an affair with his wife. Something that was proved to be very false by the surviving sister. And Larry Don Ray had a history of assault dating back to 1993. And it's very unfortunate. And the picture on your right is a picture of Larry Don Ray before he died and took some lives with him, which is very, very sad. And once again, up here is the picture of Patty Mannix, who shall rest in peace. I would also like to say rest in peace to Larry's 6 relatives, who unfortunately lost their lives on a terrible and tragic day. So this is what I kind of wanted to spend most of my speech on, and it's just concluding this speech in a positive light, even though this is a very morbid topic. And I know that when I chose this topic, even my parents and my friends questioned me on why are you talking about murder-suicide? And it's hard for me to answer that question, but once again, it is a very morbid topic, but I think it needs to be addressed. And there's so many of these souls and these lives that have just been forgotten and that have just been lost. So part of it was that I felt I had to tribute these lost lives when doing this presentation. And once again, I said that it needs to be addressed because of how close to home it is. Every time I go to school, every time I go to work out, every time I go to work, I see this house that my dad's old boss, Patty Mannix, died in. And that's just how real it is. It's how real it is. So what I have done is I have included the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255, and I have included the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is 800-799-7233, just because I realize how deep and how troubled and how important this stuff is, and I want to put these lifelines and hotlines out here for whoever reads this, whoever watches this presentation. I think this is a part of the presentation that's interactive, but I'm hoping it's not interactive. But then again, these options are here for you to use them. These are once again through apa.org. And just concluding, murder-suicides are a very morbid topic, but they need to be talked about and they need to be prevented. And there isn't a lot of studies out that shows the real psychology behind what drives these men. But like I said before, the things we know, the motivations, the religious beliefs, the self-punishment, the guilt, the joint suicide, as well as the common personality traits, the poor self-control, the quick to violence, the depressed, the lonely, and that 90% of perpetrators are male is very sad to me. As a male, it's very sad. So that is my presentation on murder-suicide. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it brings some more information that you didn't know about. This is Ethan Osberg signing off. Here are my sources, and thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.